Walter White embodies monotony. He starts each day with a dull cup of coffee beside his wife, Skylar, and son, Walter Jr., then leaves for another identical school day, where he teaches chemistry to uninterested students in the afternoon. Walter punches in for his second shift at a car wash, scrubbing vehicles and what little self-worth he has left, as he's ignored like he doesn't exist, until his endless cycle of frustration and contempt snaps the moment he collapses on the job. And after a battery of tests, he's handed a death sentence: terminal lung cancer, delivered by a doctor with the cold efficiency of a DMV recording, while the only sound Walter hears is the ringing in his ears over a life that was already falling apart. Now, it comes with an expiration date, and to make matters worse, Walter has nothing left to pass on to his family, so he joins his DEA agent brother-in-law, Hank, on a drug raid at a meth lab, where Hank acts like a TV hero while Walter watches a little too closely, only to spot a fleeing suspect he instantly recognizes: Jesse Pinkman, Walter's ex-student skilled at ignoring lessons. Then, something clicks in Walter's mind, revealing not crime, but an instant opportunity. Walter tracks Jesse down and spells out the plan. They'll cook meth together. When Jesse scoffs at the idea of making crystal meth, he soon realizes he has no real choice, since refusing would mean Walter turning him in to the DEA, and, despite how wild it sounds, Jesse knows he actually needs a skilled chemist, which Walter is, so before long, they purchase an RV and drive out into the desert. Walter slips on an apron and goggles to begin cooking, producing the purest meth Jesse has ever seen, still not blue, but flawless. Yet the drug trade proves far more complicated than chemistry when Jesse's attempt to sell it leads to a confrontation with Tuco, a dealer who recognizes Walter from the DEA raid, sending tensions soaring until Tuco decides to resolve the problem the old-fashioned way, by kidnapping them and turning to violence, while the old Walter White rapidly fades, forced to think fast. With his expertise, he crafts a poisonous gas to defeat the dealers and dodge death. No longer just a disillusioned teacher, he's crossed a line, and as Walter White fades in that desert, he experiences an unfamiliar feeling for the first time. In the desert, as chaos erupts after their actions, with Crazy 8 dead, another barely alive, and the RV stalled, Jesse wants to flee and erase what happened. But Walter has already shifted into cold, calculated chemistry mode, insisting they clean up. With no traces left behind, Jesse spirals into full panic, while Walter remains unsettlingly calm, already plotting their next step. Then the next morning, Walter returns home and, like any first-time criminal, acts as if nothing happened. He sits at the breakfast table, eats with Skylar and Walter Jr., pretends to engage in small talk. But just as the phone rings, he's still very much alive. Walter keeps up his ordinary suburban dad act, no hidden secrets, sliding back into his routine at school, teaching about chiral molecules, identical in appearance, but behaving differently, a not-so-subtle parallel to his own situation, while Jesse returns home to find Crazy 8 missing. The man he'd left unconscious has vanished, sending Jesse into a panic just as Walter shows up. As Crazy 8 lurches down the street like a zombie, they grab him just in time, drag him back, and lock him in the basement, where Jesse insists on killing him quickly and moving on. But Walter hesitates, wondering if they can work something out, though he secretly knows the real issue isn't whether he can kill Crazy 8, but whether he should. And this time it's different. Walter, the scientist, suggests dissolving the body in hydrochloric acid. No shallow graves, no suspicious fires, just chemistry. So Jesse, though he thinks it's messed up, agrees it might be their only choice now for the other problem. Walter assigns Crazy 8 to Jesse and gives him one critical instruction: the acid must go into a special plastic container. But Jesse ignores it and uses the bathtub. While the plastic container holds the acid, and waits for the problem to vanish. Skylar senses something is wrong, investigates, discovers Jesse's involvement, and confronts him like a mother catching her child with drugs, warning him that if he stays near Walter, she'll contact the DEA, leaving Jesse realizing Skylar is a threat, but one he can't deal with yet. As Walter arrives back at Jesse's to find the bathroom transformed into a horror movie scene, the ceiling has collapsed, and Emilio's remains are scattered everywhere, along with that useless plastic container you picked up on what should have been an ordinary day. While Skylar chats with Marie, exchanging small talk until a passing remark suddenly alerts Marie, who instantly realizes Walter Jr. has been smoking weed. Though Skylar tries to downplay it, but can't shake Marie's insistence that ignoring it would only make things worse. Meanwhile, Skylar can't decide which is worse, her sister's extreme paranoia or the terrifying chance that she might be correct. While in Jesse's basement, Crazy 8 remains chained up, his body trapped but his mind racing as he observes, listens, and pieces things together, even dropping hints to Walter that he shouldn't know. He's working to seem relatable in Walter's eyes. If he appears harmless enough, he might just leave alive. But Jesse has already decided, reminding Walter about the coin toss he's already settled. Meanwhile, Hank tackles Walter's issue his own way by taking Walter Jr. to a decaying neighborhood where addicts drift like ghosts and bluntly pointing them out. This is where drugs lead you, teaching him the hard truth firsthand. He brings in a worn-out prostitute to tell her story, making it clear Hank won't let his nephew end up like her. While back in the basement, the wall holds the key to the lock of his trapped mind. He glares back at the mess, the broken plates pieces scattered across the floor, one missing, and knows that's all the proof he needs. Crazy 8 never meant to talk his way out. Walter waited for the perfect moment, then hesitated, but the decision was already out of his hands, and there was no escape, so he seized the chain and strangled Crazy 8. Just as Hank, still investigating, returned to the spot where Walter and Jesse had cooked, uncovering clues, Crazy 8's car, drug traces, and small details that seemed insignificant alone, but together painted a damning picture. While the DEA analyzed a new meth sample so pure, 99.1%, it stunned them, far beyond ordinary street quality. Line cook Hank begins piecing together strange clues. Amilo 2 is missing, and now a suspicious new product appears, suggesting a dangerous new player who could upend everything. While at the White House, a family barbecue seems ordinary until Skylar, losing patience, demands Walter reveal the truth, and he admits he has lung cancer, leaving the table in stunned silence. Marie is visibly shaken. Hank attempts a joke to ease the tension, but Skylar refuses to be distracted. And meanwhile, Jesse, he realized no one respected him anymore. Without Walter, he was powerless, without influence or leverage, and in his desperation for stability, he reached out to his family, only to be rejected and thrown out. After finding weed in the house, belonging not to him, but to his younger brother Skylar, Walter secures an appointment with one of the country's top oncologists, only to be hit with a $90,000 bill, leaving him questioning whether the treatment is even worth it, or if he's just delaying the inevitable. With his family drowning in debt and still hiding his true self, Walter faces Skylar's demands to fight back or at least attempt something. But he refuses to let emotion drive his choices, so instead of giving up and dying, he does the unthinkable, marching up to a luxury car and shoving in gasoline. Jesse soaks a sponge in the fuel tank and lights it, realizing this isn't about money or logic, it's about Walter, who's no longer the same man. So he quits the drug trade and tries landing a legitimate job, boasting of his sales skills only to fail with no experience. While he now endures the embarrassment of spinning signs on the street, a far cry from his past, Walter and Skylar attend Elliot Schwartz's lavish birthday party, Walter's former business partner. At the gray matter party, overwhelmed by frustration and envy of the wealthy lifestyle he feels should have been his, Walter, already tense, gets a job offer from Elliot, who later insists on paying for Walter's cancer treatment after learning of the diagnosis, only for Walter to refuse out of pride. Walter would rather die than admit defeat by accepting help now, while across town Jesse runs into Badger, equally lost, and as they complain about their failures, they inevitably return to the only thing they're good at, cooking meth. Though their partnership remains uncertain, Walter treats every disaster like a joke, cuts corners, and improvises, until Jesse sees the result is trash and admits he can't make the same high-quality meth at the White House. Without him, meanwhile, Skylar organizes a tearful family intervention with emotional pleas and even Walt Jr. calling his father a coward to push Walter into accepting Elliot's money. Skylar assumes Walter has finally given in and will take the money, but instead of accepting Elliot's offer, he secretly plans to pay for his treatment by making meth. And by the end of the episode, he returns to Jesse with a straightforward deal: let's cook. Walter, stressing that this must stay clean, efficient, and free of any violence, insists nothing can spiral out of control, while Skylar asks about Elliot's check. And Walter, now a practiced liar, claims it's already deposited, though it isn't, a lie. During a chemistry lesson on explosions, he faints in the bathroom, quite an entrance, until Hugo, the kind janitor, helps him recover, while Jesse finally spots the radiation marks on Walter's chest, and suddenly the cancer and the rush of it all make, for the first time, it all finally makes sense. Yet now he sees Walter differently, though Walter isn't content with pocket change and demands real money after learning Jesse is selling their meth at street level. Walter insists Jesse find a reliable distributor, but Jesse lacks connections to major dealers until he recalls Tuco, a violently unstable drug trafficker. Meanwhile, Hank's probe leads him to Walter's school, where a stolen lab mask traces back to the chemistry department, and he directly questions Walter about any suspicious activity. Walter, always cool and deceptive, keeps playing dumb to mislead Hank, but Jesse naively brings a kilo of meth to Tuco's hideout, expecting a big cash payout, only to get brutally beaten and robbed, landing him in the hospital, leaving Walter without a partner, product, or money, and forcing him to take charge by shaving his head, shedding Walter White's identity, and becoming Heisenberg as he walks into Tuco's. He acts like he owns the place, never asks, just demands $50,000 for the stolen meth and another $155,000 for Jesse's beating, totaling $35,000. Walter's laughter stops when he detonates mercury fulminate, blasting a chunk of the building, proving to Tuco he's not someone to underestimate. And the stunned drug lord quickly agrees to the deal, walking away with both cash and newfound respect for the man who's no longer just a desperate teacher, but Heisenberg, a rising criminal. While at the school's parent-teacher meeting, the DEA agents are already deep into their investigation. The school pretends to minimize the issue but isn't, fully embracing it. Even an officer proposed using drug-sniffing dogs and locker searches, and if he could, he'd likely set up a DEA post in the teacher's lounge, while Jesse decides it's time to leave after 2 attempts. His run-down house, especially that grim, chemical-reeking bathroom, feels like a horror movie set, and he's desperate for a clean break, or at least to stop reliving old wounds every time he steps into his bedroom, while Walter, without even talking to Jesse, boldly approaches Tuco to propose a new deal: 2 pounds of meth per week. Walter seems to forget Jesse isn't a mobile meth lab, but Tuco, dazzled by the blue product and Walter's boldness, immediately agrees and even pays up front. Though the problem remains, the entire state lacks enough pseudoephedrine for this order, meaning they'd need 2 300-box shipments of sinus pills. So Walter, as usual, fixes the issue with more science and fewer scruples by switching to meth. Walter must cook meth in far larger amounts without pharmacy raids, since they'd have to steal supplies, while Skylar just wants a normal baby shower. But Marie ruins it by gifting her a stolen, outrageously expensive tiara that nearly gets Skylar arrested for shoplifting when she tries to return it. Jesse and Walter succeed in the methylamine heist using basic science and sheer audacity, burning through a lock with thermite and escaping unscathed, marking a major step up in their criminal enterprise, while Skylar confronts Marie about the stolen gift, only for Marie to feign ignorance and manipulate the situation as if she'd mastered the art of deception. Meanwhile, Walter and Jesse test their new cooking method, accidentally producing blue meth so pure and powerful that it becomes their unintentional signature in the drug trade, leaving Tuco stunned before his mood abruptly shifts. Without warning or reason, he suddenly turns and savagely attacks one of his own men. Walter and Jesse stand frozen, realizing they're not dealing with some criminal entrepreneur, but a full-blown psychopath. Walter wanted a distributor, and now he's got one, along with a madman thrown in for free. The moment she tries to piece together what's happening, Walter grows defensive, even aggressive, and for the first time, a chill races down her spine as she stares at her own husband while Jesse spirals into full panic after the sheer horror of their last meeting. Tuco's brutality, beating one of his own men nearly to death for no reason, makes Jesse certain he'll kill them too, leaving him with only one choice: vanish. But Walter, now more comfortable in this world than he'd ever admit, dismisses escape and insists their only survival is fighting back, using ricin, a deadly poison from castor beans, to outmaneuver him. Croco, while Tuco is being lured with the delivered product, Hank and the DEA, reviewing footage from the methylamine heist, spot something strange. The thieves knew chemistry but clearly weren't pros, especially with Walter and Jesse's poison ready. Just as their plan seems set to trap Tuco into sealing his own fate, chaos erupts before they can react, and a visibly shaken Jesse, paler than usual, sweating nervously, shows up at Walter's door. Moments after Tuco takes one man hostage, Walter is also captured without resistance. Now both are trapped under a dangerous madman's control, certain only that this situation won't end peacefully. While Hank leads the urgent search for Walter believes the dealer has already fled to Mexico when he gets a call that Skylar's brother, Hank, has now gone missing. So while tracking criminals, he must also find his lost brother-in-law, all as Walter and Jesse remain stranded in the desert, held captive by Tuco and his uncle, Hector Salamanca, a chilling old man who only communicates by violently ringing a bell. Tuco, deep in paranoia, decides his best fix is to drag them across the border and force them into making drugs for him. Trapped and desperate, Walter admits under Tuco's furious demands that he tried to poison him, calling him a deranged scumbag who deserves to die, which sends Tuco into a blind rage, swinging wildly, until Jesse seizes his chance, wrestles for the gun, and shoots Tuco, leaving him bleeding and barely on his feet, just as Walter and Jesse are about to flee, only for a car to pull up, bringing either more trouble or an unexpected way out. In an ironic twist, Hank, the same agent who had been tracking Jesse, ends up confronting Tuco, who, unaware of Walter's involvement and despite being wounded, makes a reckless move, only for Hank to fire a single shot and put an end to Tuco's violent reign. Days later, Jesse sets out to recover his stolen cash, following two addicts to a ruined house that looks like a wasteland, only to be unsettled by the sight of a young child inside. Ignored like an old piece of furniture in the corner, Jesse sits unsettled but keeps his mind on the plan. while Gretchen decides to call Skylar to ask about Walt's health, only for Skylar, overflowing with gratitude, to thank her for paying the medical bills, leaving Gretchen confused about what she's even referring to. Something feels wrong, so Gretchen confronts Walter, demanding to know why he pulled her and Elliot into his lie. But instead of admitting fault, Walter manipulates her, hurling every old resentment and grudge back at her. Meanwhile, Jesse tracks down Spooge to demand his money back, only for Spooge's girlfriend to brutally drop an ATM on his head without hesitation, killing him instantly. Despite his shock, he stays focused enough to leave the boy outside where someone kind might find him and change his future, while later, Walter tells Skylar the Schwartzes have cut off his treatment payments and, to twist the knife, lies that they've gone bankrupt. Just another day in the drug trade until Badger, the most obvious meth dealer ever, falls for a painfully transparent sting when a customer who looks more like a cop than most cops approaches him for a buy. In a poorly made action film, Badger follows the amateur criminal playbook and tries the classic, "Are you a cop?" only to fail spectacularly when the deal goes down. Undercover officers storm in and he's dragged off to jail, leaving Walter and Jesse panicking because a terrified Badger is also a chatty Badger. Find someone capable, then extract him without putting Heisenberg on the news. Enter Saul Goodman, a lawyer who looks like he just stepped out of a shady late-night ad. Walter, posing as a cheap mobster in a TV ad disguise, attempts to bribe Saul, but Saul, far from foolish, immediately rejects the offer and even threatens to call the police, leaving Walter and Jesse no choice but to kidnap the lawyer. Yet, instead of panicking, Saul acts as if it's just another Wednesday, quickly assesses them and realizes they're nowhere near experienced criminals, all due respect. Instead of pleading for his life, he immediately starts negotiating. Saul's plan is to hire a man named Jimmy, whose bizarre job is getting arrested in place of others. Though Walter despises the idea, he has no alternative. So the scheme unfolds in a DEA swarmed zone with Hank nearby, where a single misstep could imprison Heisenberg. But as usual, Walter improvises a last-second distraction, letting Jimmy take the fall while police celebrate a major bust, leaving Walter free to escape. Assuming he'll never deal with Saul again, instead of threats, he arrives at Walter's workplace with a business proposal, not blackmail, just an offer to partner by laundering Walter's money, making the operation safer and more profitable. And in that moment, Walter sees that Saul Goodman could be the missing piece to build something far beyond just cooking meth, the foundation of an empire. Purpose. Later, Walter is just stepping out of his car when suddenly he gets the call that Skylar is in labor, sending him into a panic. He rushes to the hospital, only to arrive too late. Holly has already been born, and there stands someone right beside Skylar. While Ted Benecke, Walter's overly attentive boss, keeps acting supportive, Jesse arrives home to discover his entire meth stash stolen, panics, and calls Walter, who naturally doesn't pick up because Walter was the one who took it. Blinded by rage over what he thought was a stranger's betrayal, Walter never suspected the real deception came from the one person he trusted most. Yet even as chaos swirled around him, he finalized a massive deal, netting himself $1.2 million, only to refuse Jesse his $480,000 share when the time Jesse would just waste the money on drugs like it was his to begin with. And Walter keeps justifying his habit of cheating people whenever it benefits him. Meanwhile, back home, Walter Jr., clueless about his father's true nature, sets up SaveWalterWhite.com to raise funds for his dad's medical expenses. Walter sees it as bitter irony that he's drowning in cash, but must still pretend to be a struggling, dying chemistry teacher. Yet where others see a problem, Saul Goodman, New Mexico's slickest lawyer, spots a chance and proposes using the site to launder the money through anonymous donations, giving Walter the perfect cover for his illegal earnings, so his son's heartfelt website unwittingly becomes the front for his father's expanding drug empire. Jesse and Jane are ready to flee to New Zealand for a fresh start until Jane discovers Walter stole Jesse's money. Without hesitation, she calls Skylar, who hands the phone to Walter, and Jane demands he return the cash immediately, or she'll expose him as a drug dealer, vowing silence and disappearance if he complies. Walter talks with a man named Donald Margolis, Jane's father, without either knowing how tragically connected their lives already are. Then later, breaks into Jesse's apartment to find both Jesse and Jane unconscious from heroin. And when Jane begins choking on her vomit, Walter hesitates, even though he could intervene. He should save her, yet he just stands there watching her die right in front of him, not by accidental weakness, but because he chooses not to. The night lingering on while Jesse stays frozen, as if willpower alone could bring Jane back. As reality crashes back, he clutches her limp body, screaming, sobbing, and pleading, but death never bargains. Meanwhile, Walter takes Jesse's broken, barely recognizable call, and ever resourceful at fixing his own messes, immediately dials Saul Goodman, who sends Mike, the ultimate fixer, to find Jesse in ruins and methodically stage the scene as just another tragic accident. You woke up, and she... The lie was simple, believable, and flawless, so convincing that even the police wouldn't doubt it. While at the White House, Walter Jr. was thrilled, blissfully unaware of the truth in his magical online world. The Save Walter White fundraiser is flooding with donations from everywhere, and Walt Jr. still believes his father is just a devoted family man who's had bad luck. While Skylar senses something isn't right, and, a spoiler, things will only spiral further. Meanwhile, Donald Margolis, Jane's father, reaches her apartment, watches paramedics tend to his daughter, and sees his life shatter before his eyes as he numbly answers their standard questions. Hank, our favorite DEA investigator, and this story's future tragic figure, faces a new puzzle while dealing with a lingering, gnawing pain that won't fade even on autopilot. The blue meth once made in Albuquerque has vanished from there, but is now appearing in other states, while Heisenberg not only endured the crackdown, but grew stronger. And though Hank senses danger, he still doesn't realize the threat is hiding within his own family. Walter finds Jesse at rock bottom, where Jesse can barely catch his breath between sobs, repeatedly muttering, "I killed her! It was me! I got her!" While Walter, who had stood by and done nothing as Jane died, could have stopped him to say, "No, it was an accident. Life is cruel." But of course, he stays silent. Hold Jesse tight, lift him up, and pull him away, because that's how you create emotional dependency, letting someone sink in their own guilt while you act like their only rescue. At the White House, Skylar pieces things together but finds inconsistencies. Walter never saw his mother, Gretchen Schwartz never covered his treatment, and the man she married, always playing the victim, has been lying. Yet Walter, an expert at evading the truth, keeps dodging her questions, so Skylar, fed up with the deception, takes Holly and leaves. She's walked away before, because men like Walter always hide one last lie, and now, Donald Margolis, still shattered by his loss, returns to work as an air traffic controller when he shouldn't, only for grief to spiral into catastrophe in an instant. The episode opens with Walter stepping outside to watch burning debris fall from the sky as Albuquerque remains covered in wreckage from the mid-air collision that killed 167 people, a disaster triggered by air traffic controller Donald Margolis's emotional collapse after his daughter Jane's death. But the crash is merely a symptom of Walter White's actions, which now spread through the city like a slow explosion. while Skylar, done with games, flatly tells Walt she's moved out and wants to keep the children far from him. Though her lawyer presses her on the money's source, she evades the question, focused solely on. Meanwhile, Walt still holds on to the hope of a normal life, but even that is fading quickly as his relationship with Hank crumbles. Hank suspects something is wrong, and Walt knows he's long past the point of no return, with the inevitable confrontation with Skylar finally arriving, where he admits everything. He's been cooking meth. Now just a man with secrets, he's become a real danger. Divorce isn't just possible, it's necessary for survival. While across town, Gus presents Walt an offer too good to refuse: 3 months of work for $3 million. Walt refuses the offer, saying he must first fix his family, and Gus, ever the cold strategist, doesn't. Walt is already fully involved in the game, even though he still pretends he isn't. While I didn't introduce Gus Fring sooner, because his role wasn't emphasized in the last season, though anyone unfamiliar with the show wouldn't know that. Powerful crime boss who launders money through his fast food chain, Los Pollos Hermanos, hides in plain sight, while Jesse, after deep self-reflection, stops fleeing his true self, dropping all excuses and justifications, realizing you either confront life or keep running. Meanwhile, Skylar finds solace, and possibly more, in Ted's warm home. The relaxed atmosphere makes her hesitate. Then Ted offhandedly proposes she could keep some belongings there, the kind of offer that doesn't include a key, but carries unspoken expectations from across town. Meanwhile, Jesse and Walter clash again, with Jesse distrustful and certain Walt is deceiving him, demanding his share, only for Walt, ever controlling, to deny it and reverse the accusation onto Jesse. Walt is using the recipe without approval, but the real dispute isn't just about the money, it's about pride, with Walt demanding recognition as the genius, while Jesse rejects being treated as just an assistant, all as Hank quietly gets closer to solving the case after questioning Combo's mother, who unknowingly provides a key detail. For the first time, Hank connects Jesse to the mobile meth lab through the RV's license plate, tightening the net on the criminal underworld, just as Gus Fring offers Jesse an irresistible deal, a high-tech underground lab with full security. Walter stares at the $3 million offer for 3 months' work, a sum that doesn't whisper but shouts, yet hesitates, knowing acceptance would cross a line he could never retreat from, though his ambition has already demolished what little morality he had left, and in the end, true to form, he chooses power, starting with a refusal. Gus gets him soon after, returns quickly, and takes the deal. But that choice triggers an instant fallout. Jesse lies unconscious while Walt coldly cuts ties on what starts as an ordinary day until a cop's shift turns sinister. During a welfare check at Miss Piwa's home, the officer discovers her decomposing body, and the situation quickly spirals. Then a mysterious man suddenly appears, unnerving the already tense cop, who orders him to surrender, but the stranger just stares in eerie silence, heightening the threat of violent confrontation. Meanwhile, Skylar grows increasingly burdened by the money, while Walter insists it will secure their family's future. And elsewhere, Jesse Pinkman sets up his rough but operational DIY meth lab, seeing it as his path to independence. Walter Jr. notices his dad's odd new behavior, suddenly driving him to school and acting like a forced, unnatural family man, and senses it's not genuine, while Hank, meanwhile, follows a solid lead straight to Jesse's RV, the notorious mobile meth lab, and finds it abandoned in a junkyard. Then he's suddenly there, standing before the rolling lab crime scene that might expose everything, poised to charge in and shut it all down, when the junkyard owner appears and starts arguing that the RV counts as a legal residence, forcing Hank to hold his ground while Walt and Jesse, trapped, panic until Saul Goodman steps in. With one last move, he fakes an emergency call, claiming Marie, Hank's wife, was in a bad car crash, and instantly Hank's instincts take over. He abandons everything to race to the hospital, leaving the RV and the bust unattended. But the lie doesn't stay buried for long. Walter and Jesse finally stop to rest at the junkyard, only to find the RV gone and the evidence destroyed. Realizing too late that Jesse tricked him, Hank flies into a furious rage, violently assaulting Jesse before he can even be officially arrested. His last chance to catch him now ruined. In a live demo about police brutality, using my wife's name, Jesse lies bloodied and silent on the floor, while Hank, drowning in his own trauma, crosses every ethical line, lashing out like a broken man. Then it cuts to the hospital, where Saul Goodman, the legal vulture, circles the tragedy for an angle, pure Saul. But Jesse is far beyond sarcasm now. Now Walt arrives with his usual fake concern for Jesse's eyes, trying to comfort him but only making things worse, while Jesse, already physically broken and emotionally destroyed, no longer sees Hank as the real villain. But Walt, and that betrayal turns his pain into rage, then rage into a drive for revenge, as Walt and Saul scramble to fix things before they spiral, leaving Hank to handle the fallout. After his meltdown, he confesses everything, accepts the suspension, and returns to Marie in a full emotional collapse. Finally admitting how shattered he's been since Tuco and El Paso, pain he's suppressed for far too long, and just like that, he decides he's done, unable to stay a cop. Walt then visits Jesse to offer him a deal, money, and a new partnership, because Jesse has the chemistry skills Gale lacks. But Jesse refuses. With the gun in hand, he finally breaks, ripping into Walt, exposing every wound, and for the first time truly seeing him, a disaster wrapped in lies and ego. But even then, Jesse's raw vulnerability takes over, and late that night, he gives in, returns, and the cycle restarts. Hank sits frozen in his car, still trying to make sense of what just happened. When his phone buzzes, a cold, unknown voice warns him that two men are coming to kill him. Dismissing it as a prank, he steps out, only to see the Salomon twins appear, calm and composed, one raising a gun and firing, forcing Hank, driven purely by survival instinct, to jam the gas and run one of them over, leaving them wounded. Yes. With almost no ammo left and completely trapped, Hank seizes the second twin's gun and fires, then escapes alive. Jesse Pinkman watches the familiar scene on the street. Quick drug deals, shady looks, discarded lives, but now his once numb eyes burn with guilt and barely checked rage as kids get used like pawns in Gus's brutal game. And when he learns from the sister of the boy who shot him that young Thomas was later executed by Gus's dealers, Andrea collapses under grief while Jesse's sorrow hardens into blind, hate-fueled vengeance, demanding Walt give him ricin for a subtle, quiet strike. Walt stops him before he draws attention. If Jesse acts now, it's over, since targeting those dealers means challenging Gus. And that's a guaranteed death sentence under the current pressure. Walter is warned by Gus and Mike, not in a friendly talk, but as a caution that Jesse is turning into a problem, while Jesse arms himself seeking revenge, not compromise, driven purely by blind rage and willing to die to get it. Then, suddenly, Walter speeds down the street and runs over the two deer with his car, hitting them right in front of Thomas. One savage dies on impact, his body hitting the pavement hard, while the other, bleeding and shattered, tries to drag himself away, but Walters has already decided, firing a single precise shot without pause. Jesse stands paralyzed. Realizing this wasn't a rescue, but a declaration of war, there's no going back now. With time running out and the cartel losing trust in Gus, Walter sees the power balance shifting quickly as Gale, no longer just a lab assistant, is being trained in every lesson and instruction to replace him. Walt takes another step toward becoming fully disposable, while Mike, our beloved grumpy grandpa, shares a rare, tender moment with his granddaughter Kaylee, though it doesn't last. Mike must handle the Hermanos' warehouse food supply while a jittery supplier delays since Gus's operation leaves no room for hesitation. Meanwhile, at Gail's place, Gus drops by unexpectedly, keeping the talk polite but tense, and when he casually asks if Gail is ready to work alone, Gail pauses before admitting he may need a few more days. Walter Gus never debates. He just warns him to be prepared, because once Walter understands, time is running out. So he meets with Jesse and explains everything to Gail. Jesse is shocked. Walter won't cross this line but insists he must, even after Gail suggests going to the police. A plan. Walter instantly rejects, arguing that if Gail lives, Gus won't need them, and without their use to Gus, they'll be killed. So Jesse reluctantly tracks down Gail's address. Walter gets the pass, but before he can act, Victor appears and drags him to the lab where Mike is already waiting, unsubtle, and Walter knows exactly what's coming. Walter barks orders in the lab, while Jesse snaps into action the moment the urgent call comes. No explanations, no hesitation, just instant execution. As Jesse finally knocks the door open, Gail stands there confused until he spots the gun, and terror takes over, making him beg, offer money, and desperately try to talk his way out. Jesse trembles in panic. He never meant to kill, but now he has no choice, as a gunshot cuts to black and the new season starts with a harsh warning that no one is safe. Gail is dead by Jesse's hand, and Gus, it brutally reveals who ordered Victor's killing. Not just a warning, but outright terror. While Skylar notices something off, Walt's car is parked outside, yet he's nowhere to be found, the kind of detail only she would catch. A wife wouldn't take long to knock on Saul Goodman's door, yet she never does, even though Saul, as usual, acts like a mix of slick lawyer and conspiracy theorist, no longer hesitant about getting too involved. The trains have already left. Whether she likes it or not, Skylar is now involved, while Jesse spirals on the outside, lost in blank stares, video games, aimless driving, and junk food, filling his time with any meaningless distraction he can find, and Hank remains trapped in his own body, worn down by the slow grind of recovery. The job he loved was his life, and losing it has crushed him. Now he fills the emptiness by obsessively collecting minerals, though Marie keeps trying to snap him back while Hank, though physically at home, remains mentally fixed at the crime scene, fixated on Gail, as Walt and Jesse return to work in the lab, acting as if nothing happened. Walt understands the situation perfectly. This time he might have survived, but his sense of control is shattered. No more grand schemes, no more backup plans, just a lethal game where a single misstep could end everything, as Gus Fring, razor sharp in his suit and unnervingly composed, steps into the room. Hector Salamanca, once feared and respected, now sits frozen in a wheelchair, unable to speak or move, yet still burning with hatred as Gus stops directly in front of him, forcing Hector to relive every defeat and humiliation, craving the sight of that old fire in his eyes to confirm that though Hector breathes, his war ended long ago in loss. While Hank remains unaware, in a tense confrontation with Walt, Hank reveals he's investigating Gus Fring, suspecting he's not just a fast food owner, but a major drug lord, though he lacks the evidence to prove it, then turns to Gus and demands, "Is your real name Stavil Fring? You're Chilean, yet there's no record of you ever living there," while Gus plays a reckless game of cat and mouse, unaware of how close he is to being exposed. Walt panics inside but hides it, stumbling through excuses and pretending to stay calm when Hank asks him to plant a tracker on Gus's car, each hesitant moment feeling like a giveaway to him. Gus walks straight into their office, cool and steady as if just stopping by for a license renewal. Even though he knows the walls are closing in, his fingerprints were found in Gail Bisher's apartment. One by one, the agents begin nodding in agreement, all except Hank, who still senses something wrong but, lacking evidence, can only wait for the next move just when things seem like they couldn't get worse. Flashing back to Mexico, a younger Dust, less cold, less hardened, walks in with Max Aranega, a brilliant, confident man who could sell ice in a snowstorm, pitching Donadio on crystal math, a product purer than anything else, a gold mine if the cartel backs them, though Donadio isn't easily impressed and just listens. With a cold smile, the only way cartel bosses know how, Hector Salamanca suddenly pulls the trigger and Max crumples instantly, his blood splattering the floor, while Gus can only stand frozen, unable to move, scream, or fight back, forced to watch and remember. That was the moment Gus Fring, as we know him, was born. Now, in the present, Gus confronts Hector again, dragging him back through every brutal detail of that day. The killing, each second replayed. Now, Gus holds all the power, while Hector can only sit helpless, watching as the chess game between Walter White and Gus nears its last move, where every choice could mean life or death, while Jesse Pinkman faces a crisis he can't control over Brock. Andrea's son is in the hospital. The police are pressuring Jesse for answers, and Jesse has to stay calm while figuring out who poisoned the boy, all after he told Brock's mom about the poisoning. But while Jesse is distracted, Walt is up to something. Walter knows attacking Gus directly would mean certain death. Gus is always surrounded by bodyguards, monitors cameras constantly, and has an almost supernatural awareness of danger. But he overlooks one last threat, Hector Salamanca, the aging cartel relic now confined to a wheelchair in Casa Tranquila nursing home, barely alive, yet still a factor. Hector's eyes blaze with pure, ancient hatred, stoked by years of suffering and shame, while Walter bluntly admits Gus slaughtered his whole family, leaving him a hollow shell, but now he can finally strike back. Though silent, Hector's gaze confirms it. The trap is set. And the first move is forcing Gus to take the bait by demanding a meeting with the DEA, specifically Hank. In the interrogation room, a confused but compliant Hector slowly spells out a childish, pointless insult, useless to the DEA, but a glaring red flag for Gus Fring, who hears the news and reacts exactly as expected. He sends others to deal with it, but insists on going himself, arriving at the nursing home with two of his men, certain this will be his last confrontation with Hector Salaman. Yet when he enters the room, his voice thick with scorn as he tells Hector it's over, that he's nothing but a man waiting to die, something feels wrong. Because for the first time, Hector actually looks. The cold stare locks onto Gus like a blade. Then the bell tolls, not as a cry for aid, but as the signal. Walter's bomb detonates, tearing the room apart in a savage blast that erases Hector in an instant. Yet through the smoke, Gus Fring remains, still on his feet. He smoothly adjusts his jacket cuff, but as the camera shifts, half his face is already gone. Then he stumbles into the hallway and collapses. Gus Fring is dead. And the empire built on precision and fear crumbles instantly, while Walter and Jesse return to the underground lab, the core of Gus's operation, and burn it all down, erasing every last trace of their connection. The lab exploded in flames, destroying Gus's legacy forever. But Jesse discovered a shocking truth. Brock hadn't been poisoned with ricin, it was Lily of the Valley, a common yet deadly plant, and the dust had nothing to do with it, meaning Jesse had been misled all along. Though taking a darker turn, he still fails to see the full picture. Unaware he was just a pawn, Walter White manipulated, even using a child to force his scheme to its final success. When the phone suddenly rings, it's a frantic Skylar, desperate for answers after the news, demanding to know what went wrong. But Walter only replies, "I won." Later, time has passed. Yet something feels wrong. As Walter White, now a transformed man with a hollow, empty gaze, sits alone in a diner, Walter, Jesse, and Mike are cleaning up, erasing every trace linking them to the secret lab, but face one major problem. Gus had cameras everywhere, and all that surveillance footage still exists, while outside, the trunk of their parked car holds an M60 machine gun, proof the war isn't over yet. The DEA now has it, but the locked hard drive is still at the high-risk precinct, so Walter, being Walter, already has a plan, and that plan uses magnets, yes, magnets, with Walter and Jesse, convincing Mike to help them execute an absurdly daring heist before leaving it parked right outside the police station. Mike stays skeptical, as Walter orders a full-power remote wipe of the hard drive without entering the building, and though the plan executes flawlessly, Mike doubts it actually worked until Walter, grinning more arrogantly than ever, declares, "It worked because I say it did," proving the old Walter White is gone and only Heisenberg remains, while Skylar meanwhile faces her own ordeal. She stares at Walter in terror, but what chills her even more is the look on his face. He isn't just scraping by, he's thriving, and he's proud of it. So much so that even Saul Goodman, the sleaziest lawyer in the Southwest, wants no part of him, making her grasp just how deep he's fallen. Walter opens up to Hank. At least that's what he wants Hank to think. All part of the game now, Hal, where truth and subtle lies let him play both sides. Under pressure, like a chess player in a tight match, Lydia, watched by Jesse and Walter as if they're waiting to carry out a sentence, faces Mike with her life on the line, her nerves betraying her as she calls Hank, claiming she's found a DEA tracker on one of the methylamine barrels. Her survival hinging on how believable she sounds, only for Hank to confirm no such device exists. Lydia survives, for now, but she knows just staying alive isn't enough. She must become essential, so she throws out a bold plan, robbing a train along a radio-dead stretch of track that's perfect for it. Mike thinks a clean heist is too risky with too many unknowns, but Lydia knows how to fence the goods, while Skylar's smothering presence at the White House feels unbearable, exactly what you asked for. So congratulations, as the walls seem to press in tighter every minute with Walt around. This time she doesn't back down, holding her breath as the kids leave, but draws a firm line. Walter, as usual, dismisses it, while Skylar, without arguing, makes it plain she'll do anything to keep them safe. And meanwhile, the crew, Walt, Jesse, Mike, and Todd, start planning, knowing their timing must be perfect. Faking a mechanical failure to halt the train, they drain the methylamine, swap it with water of identical weight, and disappear before anyone notices, all by daybreak, with the team already in place across the silent desert. The train approaches from the right in the distance, just as the truck stalls on the tracks, forcing the engineers to get out and check the problem. While they're occupied, Jesse and Todd act quickly, siphoning the blue meth through hoses as Mike monitors every second, alert for any mistake. Just as everything seems finished, an unexpected local man, an apparent Good Samaritan, suddenly appears, unplanned and unaccounted for, while time runs out and the train begins moving sooner than expected, forcing Jesse and Todd to rush sealing everything at the very last moment. The moment Todd jumps free, their success is short-lived. Out of the dust, a child on a dirt bike emerges, just a curious, unafraid kid watching, and without hesitation, Todd draws a gun, fires, and the child drops, vanished, leaving Jesse frozen in stunned shock. In the desert's crushing heat, where the horizon shimmers under the weight of silence, heavier even than a loaded gun. 3 vehicles meet. On one side, Walter White, Jesse Pinkman, and Mike Ehrmantraut. On the other, Declan and his men, expecting a straightforward deal, sell the methylamine, shake hands, and leave. But Walter White never keeps things simple, because he didn't come to sell. He came to dominate, not wanting a one-time payment, but demanding Declan shut down his own operation and distribute his product instead. Since Heisenberg isn't after money, Walt ignores the dealer's defiance. Who does this guy think he is? And stays unshaken, his voice icy, his words sharp and direct, leaving no room for argument. In the end, Dean accepts the deal, and a determined Mike takes the chance to finally walk away, demanding his $5 million and an exit from the life. But before disappearing, he gives Walt one last warning. The DEA has planted bugs, and if they aren't removed, everything could collapse. Jesse is ready to leave. Everything they've done has broken him, and he just wants his share and a clean escape. But Walt refuses, manipulating and shaming him while insisting Jesse is too valuable to quit. All as the DEA closes in on Mike, issuing a warrant and raiding his home, though Mike stays one step ahead. He disappears before they can grab him, turns to Saul Goodman for his escape kit, cash, a new passport and ID, ready to vanish, but he can't retrieve it himself. Saul hesitates, but before he can refuse, Walt steps in to make the delivery as things heat up quickly, and they meet by the river, a place thick with unspoken weight, while Mike prepares to leave. Though Walt didn't come just to say goodbye, he wants the names of the 9 men still imprisoned. The only loose ends linking him to Gus Fring's operation are names Mike refuses to give, names that don't belong to Walt. And that's when Walt loses control, his buried rage finally erupting as he fires the gun, the shot ringing through the empty space, while Mike, wounded, drags himself to a rock by the water's edge for one last quiet moment staring at the river. Walter mutters, "What might be an apology? I'm sorry, Mike, this whole mess could have been avoided," then falls silent as Lydia, ever paranoid, spells everything out. She has the names of Mike's 9 men, the last loose ends tying him to Gus Fring's empire, though she knows handing them over is risky. Lydia knows lies and liabilities rarely end well before Walt acts, so she demands a clear yes or no. Heisenberg's blue meth already dominates the local market. With 5% of the Czech Republic's population already addicted and distribution networks ready, the entire country seems desperate for better meth, making Walt consider expanding beyond Albuquerque. While back in the city, Jack Welker's crew methodically eliminates every possible informant in Walt's prison network, killing one mid-meal and strangling another, all within 2 precise minutes. By the time the alarms sound, Dan Worker, the lawyer hiding Mike's money, has already finished the job in the showers, ensuring the DEA's silence, while Hank watches the news unfold, motionless, certain the attack wasn't random but powerless, without evidence, leaving him seething in frustration. Meanwhile, Skyler drives Walt to a storage unit where he finds a towering pile of cash. Skyler has long since stopped tracking the fortune, so vast it would outlast 10 lifetimes and shame even a Wall Street banker, before pleading with desperation bordering on surrender for just one thing, that he quit while he still can, and for a fleeting moment, Walt, the mighty Heisenberg, actually weighs the idea. Jesse Pinkman is trying to leave his past behind and pretend at a normal life across town. But when Walt steps out of a car outside his house, the air grows freezing and Jesse steels himself for the familiar threats or schemes that always pull him back. Only this time, Walt stays silent. Before walking away, he tosses a cash-stuffed duffel bag at Jesse's feet, leaving Jesse staring in confused disbelief. While back at the White home, dinner unfolds like an ideal suburban scene. Hank, Marie, Skyler, and Walt eating together until Walt abruptly declares, "I'm out." leaving Skylar stunned, but letting herself hope for the first time in ages that it might truly be over. Gail's voice, Barker's, rings in his mind as the pieces click together, every dismissed suspicion, every glance at Walt that revealed just a meek chemistry teacher. Until 12 seconds later, Walter White stands frozen, watching Jack Welker execute Hank with a cold, brutal shot in the desert, the weight of all his choices collapsing around him. The neo-Nazi gang steals all his money and mocks him by leaving just one barrel of cash. But Walter reserves his cruelest blow for Jesse. Beaten, shattered, and barely alive, he stares at him without emotion, admits he let Jane die, and then has Jesse dragged away not to be killed, but to be chained like a slave and forced to cook meth. Walt rushes home to vanish, but Skylar realizes Hank is dead, destroying what remained of their bond. When she grabs a knife and Flynn steps in to protect her, he fully turns against Walt, so the family calls the police, with no way back, so a desperate Walt snatches baby Holly and flees, only to hesitate when she cries for her mother. He thought his last bit of humanity was gone, leaving her somewhere safe until later, when Skylar gets a call. It's Walt again, but not the broken man from before, now cold, calculating, and furious, blaming her for everything, spewing venom down the line. He knows the cops are just for show. He's shielding her, clearing her name to ensure she won't go down with him. So, Walter White vanishes into the snowdrift piled on the abandoned car, then reappears in Albuquerque like a ghost, but not for the reason anyone thinks. Walter quietly enters the Schwartz mansion, once home to Gretchen and Elliot, his old friends and Gray Matter co-founders, now living the life he believes should have been his. A sprawling house, wealth, and security. But when they spot him, they freeze, desperately searching for traces of the Walt they once knew. Walter isn't there for revenge, but to offer a deal. When Flynn turns 8, he'll hand over $9.72 million with no conditions. Yet to ensure they don't back out, he lies about 2 phantom hitmen, watching their every move, shadows that will torment them for life, and warns them not to even flinch or seem like they're trying to flee before vanishing for good. But first, he tracks down Skylar, now living in a bare apartment after losing everything, under constant FBI surveillance, waiting for their chance to pounce. And for the first time, he confesses to her. He admits he didn't do it all for her. He did it for himself because he enjoyed it and was skilled at it. But the confession comes too late to change anything, so he leaves her only with the GPS coordinates to Hank and Gomez's burial site as a final bargaining tool for the DEA, then pauses to look at her one last time. No apologies, no more lies, before seeing Holly outside one final time as he walks away. He now spots Flynn, then Gran, consumed by fury, yet knows no words can reverse what's done. So Walter heads straight for Jack Welker's hideout, the man who took his money and betrayed him. Barely able to stand, Jesse looks up, sick, broken, and hellish, while Jack and his crew eye him with suspicion. But Walt has one last move ready, right on cue. In seconds, the automated machine gun hidden in his car trunk unleashes chaos. Bullets tear through walls and bodies, leaving nearly everyone dead once the shooting stops. Broken and chained, Jesse lunges, wrapping the chain around Todd's neck and tightening his grip until Todd falls silent and still, leaving Jesse gasping for air, while a wounded and desperate Jack tries to bargain, offering Walt the last of the money. But Walt fires before Jack can even finish speaking, leaving only the two of them. Walter glances at Jesse and silently tosses him the gun, an unspoken offer. Jesse catches it, realizing he could end everything now, but for the first time in forever, he refuses to follow orders, makes his own choice, and picks life, then leaps into a car, slams the gas, and bursts into laughter, tears, and shouts as the past shrinks in the rearview mirror. Walter remains slumped behind cover, breath ragged and shirt soaked with blood. But he doesn't flee. He barely moves, his fingers trailing over the lab equipment, as if bidding farewell to an old friend, his one true legacy, the only place he ever felt truly alive, before he staggers and crumples to the floor. Just like that, Walter White is gone. The Empire